Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to the Deceptilab, and welcome to my weekly live stream. And today, um, pretty exciting day just because we got HQ18 Phase 2 on the horizon. So we will talk about that a little bit, look at a little bit more of the stats and everything for it. And I also want to talk a little bit more about the upcoming 5-star batch. Now, I know most of you saw my reveal video last week, but yeah, man, there's a couple of topics that come up over the week that I just want to kind of hash out. Now, I do have the 5-star bots in playtest now. It's the first day of playtest, so I won't be able to show any stats or anything like that, but I do want to show some of the strategies that I'm planning on using for some of these bots, just to kind of get people to see some of the value in some of these bots, because I know a lot of people just don't like to support bots like that. So yeah, we'll take a look at that, and I want to talk about a little bit more about the acid and fire meta a little bit. And I see my moderator, Mercenary Terra, asked where my hat's at. I actually, dude, honestly, right up until the beginning of the stream, I was just working on the stream, so I didn't put my hat on this time, so everybody get to see my bald head. But before we talk about any of that stuff, let's take a look at this week's newsletter, and we can see what's going on with this week's event. So this week is season 14, week 3 of the saga, and we are looking at week 3 of the saga, and the event is going to be called Smash and Grab. It's going to be a 1 million point event, and you get up to 1,000 5-star shards, 3,700 4-star shards, 5,000 3-star shards, and 75k of premium shards. And then you get 350k each of Spark and Combat Spark. I'm sure much needed for everyone. It's also going to have a good amount of combat premium chips, G metal and gold power chips. So you can see the event chart there. And this is one of the ones that we actually got the vote on. So I was actually kind of pleased with that we got the vote up there. I think I voted for 1 mil for this weekend also. A little bit of controversy earlier today because next week's event, everybody voted for 1 mil. Well, not everybody, but the majority voted for 1 mil, and that's going to be a 1.5, but we'll talk about that next week. All right, so typical battle zones, so nothing really changed there. And then the big news today was in the game updates and information section. It's talking about all the new stuff we're going to get with Phase 2. So a part of that is going to be your new Prime cores. So for your Prime cores, the 3 that are going to come out are going to be Prima Prime, Quintus Prime, and Vector Prime. We actually did some work on Onyx, and we actually did some work with the Solus Prime core. But playtesters kind of had a discussion with Space Ape yesterday saying, hey man, Phase 2 is not ready, and one of the reasons they said it wasn't ready was because they had basically the Solus Prime core just wasn't good. It was a little erratic. It wasn't doing very good damage. We want to try to buff that a little bit. So that one's not going to be included. And then also the Onyx Prime core was just way overpowered. So that's not going to be included this time. But you will get those 3. So that explains the confusion, because a couple of players asked me earlier how come there was pictures of 4 cores up here, but there's only 3 listed, and that's why, because in this particular picture they got Solus. They took Solus out. All right, so there goes some of the costs for Phase 2. So the items we're going to be getting, you're going to get your shield generator, which I hope everybody saved at least 1 skip for the shield generator, because as I understand it, that's going to be one of those things that it'll hold its charge for, like, so if you do your typical 48-hour charge, it'll hold that, but when that's gone, it's gone while you're upgrading. And so I'm using one of my skips for that. And then it's got your 2 shock towers, your 3 beam lasers, your laser turrets, and your build bots. So we'll take a look at all that later on, but that cost chart pretty much explains just what to expect in terms of that. So that's like the total value of how much it's going to cost you to do. Like, say we do 5 build bots, all 5 build bots. That's a total down there that Texas Hammer put up. So then just some of the concept art for each of these new buildings at a new level. Now, the shock tower, I was kind of trying to, somebody asked me earlier what the little piece was over to the side, and I didn't really have an answer because it's not showing like that in game. It's a shock tower, guys, not anything new. It's a shock tower. And then you got your laser turrets there. As always, check out all of your official and unofficial content creators. So for the official side, you got Engineer Horse, myself, Soldier, and Sunstreaker Watson. And then you got a bunch of unofficial content creators out there doing a lot of good work. So like I said, one of my moderators, Mercenary Terror, is out there. And this Grim Studios, who was like second in the chat, is also out there. So just keep an eye out for those guys making really, really good stuff. Let's see, Texas Hammer, and he actually showed me some pictures. Cause if you didn't know, Texas is in the he's in the Horde Alliance with me, or Alliance family with me. He's in main Horde. He actually got more stuff than that. He actually showed me a really, really cool wallet that he had got the other day. But he also got, a couple of Transformers, Optimus and Nemesis Prime characters. Then we got a nice piece of artwork there. You got Mind Wipe. And then we're looking at some bug fixes and improvements. So the Optimus Prime core, apparently it was not receiving the anti-heal from acid. That is going to be fixed. It's going to come out in the content push tomorrow. And Flare Mine, sort of the trigger area has been increased. And I'm pretty sure the Sunstreaker was actually got to show that on his stream. I think it was like not last. I think it was last week. Unfortunately, I can't show that up there now because during that time period, Space Ape actually did a re-import of everyone's account, and so part of it was new flare and glass gas mines weren't part of that import, and so we didn't get to fully test all that stuff. But for flare mine, it's going to be larger trigger area, and it's going to have some fire damage over time. And the glass gas mine is going to have a larger area, or a larger area of effect after being triggered, but the trigger area is going to remain the same. And for a lot of your more in-depth questions, go in there and get on the Space Ape stream tomorrow for Transformers Earth Wars. That'll be tomorrow, Thursday the 13th of April. And that's all we got for the news for this week. So let's go back into the lab. Let's take a look and see who we got in the chat. So we got Robert C4 was first in the chat today. Like I already mentioned, Grim Studios, who was second in the chat. Lord Avix in number 3. Let's see, Mercenary Terror came in at 4th. Chris Harmon, one of my fellow playtesters and good friends. So thanks for joining. Let's see, make sure I don't miss anyone. See if we got anybody lurking. And so, yeah, that's all we got so far. We'll see who else trickles in as the day goes on. But, so let's talk about HQ 18 Phase 2. So let me jump over to the battlefield real quick. And we'll just take a look at some stats and stuff real quick, because I think anytime we get new content, the tendency is for everybody to just kind of, to kind of be afraid a little bit. So let's see. right, so let me scroll out a little bit. So for this particular go, so we'll start off with the prime cores and talk about those a little bit. And that's as soon as that newsletter, I honestly, and I was telling some of the guys in some of the chats earlier, I hate when new content is coming out for the simple fact that, you know, it's going to be so many questions. And I'm like, honestly, anytime I get anything new, I just go straight into my, I go straight into my base trial and I try it out just to see if it's something that's worth leveling, in my opinion. And so I had a couple of folks today just like, oh man, does this stack with this? Yeah, you know, yeah, you know, when I was looking at the primal core, yeah, it stacks with some of the other things that they were talking about. They were asking me, did it stack with the minigun? And I was like, yeah, it does. And it was like so many questions. I was like, look, man, some of the stuff you're gonna have to try out. I'm getting ready for stream. Content push is coming soon, so just take a look at it. Just take a look at it, see if it's something you like. I mean, you can't really say no to more damage anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at. But so the first one I'm looking at is going to be the prime core, and that one. So this is the maxed out version, level 20. Every 5 seconds, enemies in a wide area receive 25% extra damage from all sources for 5 seconds. So obviously the percentages are it's gonna change depending on what level you have it at, but the maxed out version is 25. I put it up here on the minigun, and now let's go into a base trial. We'll take a look at it in action. Mercenary Terror is like, your content is good, man. Like it's really creative. It's just good content, man. So I enjoy it. I mean, you got more subscribers than I got. You must be doing something right. All right, so let's see. So I'll just go on the base trial. I'll stick my blot out here so that he can take that damage. I'll just run impact off to the side. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit because yeah, you can see the primal effect. It's kind of hard with them both having auras, but you can actually see the primal effect running every 5 seconds, and it's getting some pretty large ticks up there where it gets up to about 3,600. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna try to slow it down a little bit. And I just stuck it on an MDS just because that's the question I was asked earlier. So that's kind of where my head's at. Not saying that that's where you should use it, but like I said, test it out. I mean, it's a good pairing, but it's, you know, obviously everybody's using the MDS healing clusters right now. You really just gotta play around and see what suits your base layout, so on and so forth. Zoom in a little bit. And this time I actually stuck a shield on him by accident. I still got Nemesis up there, so I'll just wait. We'll just let it slow down real quick and we'll look at knockout approaching. But yeah, you can see the little primer indicator over their heads. Works really well. So most of the play testers were really pleased with it. So yeah, man, like let me know in the chat which once these come out, which prime cores are you looking forward to based on, I know most of you guys probably already read the newsletter. So what do you guys think? I just got a prime core, so I won't be getting one this go around. I'm pretty much almost fresh out of prime cores. Out of prime core shards. I finally got my Liege Maximo. So this is what I was saying before when I was like, I don't like to rush content. Like the content was supposed to come out. They were planning for it to come out last week. And since it didn't, I ended up getting my Liege core. So I was really, really thankful for that. And trust me, I have been putting that Liege defense core to work. All right, let's see. I want to run. I want to run the Quintus core. Actually, I think I already got it on here somewhere. Since in here, that's target protocol. Where did I put? All right, I'll just do this. I'm gonna back out for a second, and I'm just gonna move the core. Let's see. I got it on a laser turret somewhere. I don't know where. So I'll just take it off. And I will put it on. All right, so let's take a look at the Quintus Prime core. So for this one, it says each time a nearby building or outpost bot is destroyed, create a Sharpticon with 30% of this building's health and damage. So I put it on my autocannon, and let's see what it does. Like, honestly, I was surprised we didn't do a rework for this one. And I'll show you why in a second. Just because, for me, I was looking more at two things. I was looking at the range, and I was looking at how many sharks actually spawn for each one of these. And I was just like, it's a good concept. And I understand what the apes are trying to do. You don't want to go overboard with this thing, just because then it'll just turn into like when we had the war effects and stuff like that. And I don't think that was the desired effect, is to make it more like that. Actually, out of all of the effects, I hated the shark ones the most, because I had to change my team. I had to make my team really tanky, and you can actually see one of the sharks pop out down there on the screen, and it's one that was just got killed by Nemesis Prime. But you only get them when the building is destroyed, and that part kind of bothers me. I think that if they made the building continue to spawn sharks until it was destroyed, I think that'll be a healthy compromise. That'll be a compromise in between the way the old war effects were and what we got right now. So that will be my suggestion to Space Ape. I'll probably get into the playtest chat tomorrow and make that suggestion and see what my fellow playtesters think about it. And I see Sunstreaker Waza joined the chat, one of our other official content creators. Thanks for joining, buddy. And I also see Venger Prime. I left your name out earlier. You were in here earlier. Thanks for joining. Got a lot of my playtester buddies in here today. All right, let's see what else we got on the list. So we already looked at Primal and Quintus. Let's take a look at Vector, because Vector is always pretty interesting. It's because when you look at it the way we had it on offense, defensive one is pretty similar. On 0 health, it goes back in time, restoring to the health it had 22 seconds ago. So what I noticed a lot in playtest, a lot of guys that were using Vector Firm, they were using it on MDS. And so we'll take a look at that. In this case, I got the MDS sitting right in the front, so it'll be easy to kind of take a look at. Waza said he's in there working on so if I didn't tell you guys, we were working on the next batch of the unpopular opinions videos. Sunstreak Waza series with me, Tex, and Grind Time actually was able to join us this time. So we had a real good time talking the other night, just talking about just different, you guys seen the series, as I'm sure most of you have. It's always going to be some good debates going on. I think I won one and lost one. But yeah, he's editing that up, and so look for that from his channel soon, man. I actually enjoyed this one a lot, even compared to the last one. The first time was fun, but this one was like really, really fun. All right, so that MDS went down. I actually missed it and went back. His health went back. And the thing is, every time I look at these vectors, I expect it to disappear and come back, but it's the health that comes back. So I got to keep a closer eye on it. I see folks in the chat saying only 5 more unpopular opinion videos. Hey, look, man, it's a long day because like Waza and Tex got more videos coming out too. So it's like it's a long weekend for those guys. I got off early. I was telling them I was getting ready to go have dinner when we got done. So they was like, yeah, you guys can hang out. And I was like, I'm curious. I would like to hang out, but I was like, I'm extremely hungry. So I was like, I'm gonna check out this time. Thanks for the invite. Yeah, maybe it's because I put too many bots up there up front, but yeah, I can see the health come back up there the first time, but it's like I kind of like took my eye off of it for a second. But so that's what you're looking at for your 3 prime cores. But yeah, man, so like I said, let me know in the chat which prime cores in this new batch are you looking for. I honestly was surprised that I got all 5 before the content push for phase 2. So I was really pleased with that. And I didn't even do all of the prime core events. I think it was one event where I had like something going on in real life. I actually like took almost the entire event off, but then I hammered out like that. I think it was like a 35K event or something that I hammered out one weekend, and that carried me over to make sure that I got my Liege core. So I was happy about that. All right, so let's move on and we'll start looking at some of the defenses. And so the first one that I had in the newsletter was talking about the beam laser. And the main thing that I want to kind of talk about here is, so in this particular case, I'm looking really hard at the building health on all of these. So you're getting a nice little boost there. The beam laser's going up to 7.9, and so not too bad. But as you look around through some of these other buildings, what you're going to see is that you're going to see some of the health is getting it's getting really strong, and it got really strong for some of them in the first batch. Especially when you start looking at stuff like the auto cannons and everything like that. But yeah, man, like there's the buildings are starting to get stronger. And one of the things that I've been talking to my players about in my alliance is using combos and using your combos smartly. So one of the things we're gonna look at later on for some of the newer, well, not even the new bots, the bots that are coming to the batch, is comboing them effectively. But um, the key I think here is gonna be that shield generator. Like I said, I saved skips just to make sure that I had this. But now you're looking at pretty significant building health. You know, you're at 93, 9,360, and that's just normally. But when you go into, you know, a battle and you start to get like cyber and prime league effects, this is going to be a really big deal. 70% of HQ damage resistance and 40% ability resistance, and it can be pretty challenging. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna bring. Actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch layouts because this is the one. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna switch lay. Actually, this is my switch layout. This isn't the one I'm using, so we're good. I'm gonna bring this closer to the front. And we'll just take a look, because one thing that has really been driving people crazy as of late has been those healing clusters. So when you add that healing from the Micronus core, and then you got your shield generators, you usually got both MDS attached to it. You know, you're gonna have kind of a tough time in many cases, and that's where I say the combos really start to become a bigger factor. So we'll get all this stuff moved around a little bit. Had a hard time getting this thing to move. Actually, I moved that back a little bit just because I want to leave my outpost there. And like one of the conversations I've been having a lot, and we had the conversation in playtest too, was in regards to acid and just how acid is with it having taken over the meta, just needing more options to acid bots. I want to say Skids and Knockout came out in like October, and it's just now get ready to hit the batch. And so a lot of people, it's like if they don't have them, then it is dude, I hate to cut that off. So my son put a Xbox app up here and people keep sending notifications. But all right, so I'll leave it right there. And I think the thing is, so you know, we had a couple of people that were saying that, man, it's just Knockout and nobody else. But then it was like, well, Knockout doesn't really do that much damage like that. And that and the fact that his ability is only 5 seconds, which for me is and I'm calm about it now, but I like really hard disagree, because I was like, well, use a different bot, use a different acid bot if that's what's bothering you about it. But, and we've talked about it on here before, one of the problems is that, you know, everybody doesn't have Slingshot and Acid Storm yet. And then everybody doesn't have Knockout yet if they didn't do the endurance event. That was the one endurance event that I did. The map I did because it worked out really well. And I put that Nemesis Prime up there, so I'm kind of messing myself up. But what I want to kind of point out was when you look at the damage, even with it stopping healing, it's pretty, you know, it's holding up a lot, quite a bit with that new shield generator. Like, it's just tough, man. Like, it just really, really lasts a long time. I cannot find my cursor. There it is. And so it's times that I find myself with that cluster just pounding on it and pounding on it. And even there, you can see the fire combo with the acid over the 5 seconds. That's kind of what these guys are talking about. So I understand where they're coming from. That shield generator is tough, guys. So let me try it again. This time I'm gonna move my outpost spot out the way, because I mean, Nemesis Prime sitting there with his ability for 16 seconds ain't exactly allowing me to move up the battlefield the way I want. So I'll try something different. I'll try using Blast Off to just try to go take a shot. And I got him with Primer and Crater Maker, so this is just his ability 11 maxed out without his G1 or without EO Core. But just so you can see what we're talking about, that shield generator becomes really, really tough to take down. And so this is one of the openers that I'm starting to use a lot more for a lot of my attacks, is to, or really I use them more for build bots. But it's a lot of the tactics that we were using that aren't going to work anymore due to, and you can still see it's got about a, what's that, maybe about a quarter of the health left, and that's also with the healing cluster around it too. So really, really good health there. It's going to make it really tough, especially with all these new prime cores in the game. I see that Sir Soundwave joined the stream. Thanks for coming and joining us again. And we were just in here looking at some of HQ18 Phase 2. All right, and let's see. Let's take a look at the shock towers. So they got a tremendous building health, and now you're at 10,920. And like last night, I started going on my live account, and I just started setting things up in place for just positioning them the way I want them, and kind of like how I got Nemesis Prime and the outpost on there. I actually set them up real close to my shock tower with the Amalgamous Prime core, and honestly, man, I really like it a lot. So and this has been a really, really underrated core, but one of the reasons I started putting it on the shock tower was I wanted to make sure that with this much building health, I want to make sure that I'm able to get that speed increase as long as I can. And for me, with having Nemesis Prime, who's got a 16-second ability, I want to let him work as long as he can before he gets taken down. So, but that shock tower health, damage per second, you know, it's still modest. It's at 320, but that building health is really, really what sets that off. Mercenary Terror says, don't act like we didn't see that 5-star Death Turkey. I mean, to be fair, I got Slipstream up there, the 5-star Slipstream up there too, and you didn't say anything about that. Chris Harmon says he want to see Half Shell and Slipstream. So when I got my account re-imported, my Half Shell is not ready for stream right now, so I can do that. If you remind me next go around, I can do it. I am going to do some combos with Slipstream though, so we'll take a look at that. That one's actually going to be pretty cool. All right, and lastly for this batch, we get the laser turret. And it's got some pretty good damage going on. Building health is going up. It's going up to 7,920. And yeah, man, like these defenses, they're getting stronger. And like I said, Space Ape has already been saying for a while, like, we're not going to be doing as many one shots. It's going to wind up relying on some solos. So we'll actually take a look at one of the ways that I was been going with my solos. Oh, it's not so. We're not doing solos. We're doing combos. Excuse me. And we'll take a look at how I've been doing some of my combos. So not going to show any stats because this is the very first day of testing. But you can see I got that 5-star slipstream up there. And one of the conversations that I've been having with a lot of different players is that the dislike for support class bots or support type bots, excuse me, because, you know, obviously this is an air class bot. And one of the conversations we got in is this, and I'm actually going to go back and I'm going to pull my stats off with like the 4-star real quick because I think it's important. Like I'm saying, I'm not going to show stats on a 5-star that's not released yet, but. All right, so let's see, we'll go air class. All right, so this is my 4-star slipstream, and this is the stats that she had. And honestly, it's pretty good. I like her damage, especially like for it being a 4-star, was really, really good in my opinion. The health is a little bit low, but because she does so much damage, I feel like it kind of compensates a little bit. So one of the biggest complaints that I got about Slipstream entering the batches, they say, well, she's too squishy. They, you know, I was talking to one player and they were saying, yeah, she's been broken for years. And I was like, okay, well, she's fixed now. And they was like, well, no, it's been broken for 3 years. I don't trust it. And I was like, well, dude, just go and do it. Go and do a base trial and try it. And I say that because anytime something goes really wrong, if it's something I'm really interested in, outside of just playtest, I go check it out and make sure that they transfer it over to the live server. So one key example is like when Knockout was doing way too much damage and Space Ape tried it a couple of times and they was like, hey man, you know, it's fixed. And it's just issues with code and I get it. I went to them and I said, look, man, here's a replay. And I showed them a base trial. And they was like, well, is it doing that in an actual game? And I was like, yeah, it is. So I had to show them a video of me in a war attempt and everything like that. But it got resolved like that very next day. And that's all I'm saying is just like when stuff like that happens, you got to go out there and call those bugs out. And it's probably easier for me. That's why I always tell folks, if you see a bug, a lot of times I'll show a bug from somebody else's video, and I say, hey, players are showing me that this is happening. All right, so here, and really just trying to just show Slipstream off a little bit. So this base isn't too strong. This is like an older base on the test server. But one of the things that I've been doing is I actually been starting off by getting rid of the build bots that affect my team first. So in this case, that would be these FFDs. And then I'll go in with the Nemesis Prime Walk. Now, the reason why I wanted to add Slipstream to my team so badly is because anywhere that I go on that walk, and right now the team's kind of splitting because Blaster came out, but even on him, and like this is the maxed out 5-star I'm using right now, but you get 20 seconds to blow up that target, to destroy that target, for it to explode. And you know, some timing involved, but like with me, I got Impactor, and so now I got pretty much a chain reaction of explosions, and that's a really big AoE spot we got right there. So for me, I'm looking at that. It's like, man, I'm pathing around the base really, really easy when I use this ability. The ability is relatively cheap. And one of the discussions we were having in playtest today was with this first version they gave us, is it doing enough damage? But as you can see, I got Slipstream in there blowing up huge sections of the base at a time. It's really, really convenient for pathing. And I'm super excited about her being in this batch. And I have 1.5 pulls right now. And regardless of how squishy she is, I can't show you the loadout that I'm using without showing the 5-star stats. So I'm not gonna show you that, but I've got a 4-star Singe on her right now, and a Quintus Prime Core. I know people hate when I do that, but you can see that in the middle of all that chaos, she held up just perfectly. Just because when I use Quintus, I like to focus more on the damage part than the health part, for the sole fact that it's going away in 7 seconds anyway. So there are ways, when you talk about a bot being squishy, there are ways to make it work for you through the use of combats and through the use of your power cores. Now see, I actually had a request too that I wanted to look at, because Mercenary Terror has been asking me for like 2 or 3 weeks now, and that's like when I was having all the problems with my stream and everything. Then I lost my account. He had asked me to look at Trigger Happy, Liege, and Fracus. So let's see. All right, so what I want to do is I'm actually going to switch some stuff around defensively. I got to re-import, so my Liege core on defense is actually like brand new. I was tested it all the way through, but when I got my re-import, I had to go get like a brand new one. So, but I imagine this is probably something you want to use to defend against the Liege Maximo cluster. So yeah, we can definitely take a look at that. Now I'll actually even put it here as part of the healing cluster before I set up Trigger Happy, and I can just add them to the team on a base trial. All right, so I already showed off Slipstream. I'll take her out. I'll put Trigger Happy in, and let me see where I got him at right now. So got him at level 61. I'll go ahead and max out his ability real quick before we do that demonstration. And like I said, guys, if you guys ever got anything you want me to take a look at it on stream, if you let me know ahead of time, because I don't want to like level a bot that I don't have leveled like during the stream. But like if you let me know ahead of time, I'll be glad to take a look at it for you. All right, so we'll go 5-star. So that'll give him a little elemental healing and a lot more damage. And we will also, he said he wanted to add that Liege Maximo core as well. I got my Liege core at level 15. And we'll take a look at that real quick. And while we're doing that, I might as well jump in. Now add Crankcase to the squad. I think I hadn't done anything with his ability yet. So while I'm adding his abilities, I actually need to go get more spark out of the test account. But so I'm gonna talk about some of the criticisms they have for Crankcase as well. So I was talking to a couple different players, and people just aren't really excited about that pick. They don't understand why Crankcase and Hoist got put into, won the vote. But I totally understand why they wanted to vote, because I mean they got an ability that works really, really well with your entire team. So if you do a good job and you keep your team together at all times, like we should be doing, what winds up happening is you get that speed boost and you get that health boost for that entire team. So for me, that's really important when we're looking at, we just got finished looking at some of the health point values for some of the different bases. I think that's really important to try to get through everything as quickly as you can. There were some concerns about how short his attack distance is. Like you can see his range here, it says short for his. Oh shoot, never mind. I said I totally wasn't supposed to put stats up there, but yeah. So yeah, I'll just run it with what we got. I meant to do that earlier. Mike Berge has joined the chat. He says put Crater and Primo on him. So here's the thing, and I want to talk about that too, because that was one of my talking points for the day. So I'm gonna put Trigger Happy in here, and I'm gonna run that test for Terror, and we'll talk about that, because yeah, he's not, and maybe I put him in too much of a hot spot, but I don't like the rate that he's healing that. And that's that 5-star that I put up there. Let's see if I can put him in a different spot. But to your point, so when you look at a bot and that bot has short attack range, then yeah, I mean I'm gonna put a distance combat on him. And so when we were talking about Crankcase, one of the things he said, hey, put, you know, Mike Berge's saying put Crater and Primo on him. So I said I was in the group chat. I said, yeah, I'm gonna put Crater on him. You know, because you're saying his attack range is too short and he's already squishy, right? Got it. So then the conversation turned into, well, you need to use Crater and Primo. Well, I understand why people do it, and I'm not saying that it's wrong. It's not wrong at all. The problem is, for me, is that, you know, what if I'm using, like I already showed that I was using Primo on Blastoff, who's stronger, you know, I'm not going to take it off of him. So for me, I started using, like I do on all my support bots, and I started using my Alpha Trion core for a little bit. I did a little bit with my Alpha Trion. I used Nexus Prime for a little bit, but then I realized that I was starting to use Storm Pop a lot of my build bots. So then I actually put Nexus on him for a little bit, just because I didn't see like any huge advantages from, you know, just like I can use EO on him. I'm not going to get anything fantastic out of him from an EO standpoint, you know what I mean? And reflective code and stuff like that. I was like, I'm not using that. So I said, yeah, I threw Nexus on him. He's the first bot that I usually deploy with to pull my build bots. Like I said, I'm using that Nemesis Prime setup to keep him protected. And it's been working pretty well for me in Prime League War so far. So Mercenary Terror says that fire combos with acid. So in theory, it was test a fire bot with an acid combat and something for fun. So yeah, so that being the case, and the thing is, it's like Trigger Happy can start getting expensive And the thing is, I don't rely really heavily on Fracas for the acid part because it's intermittent. Now it works. It definitely works. But that's my reason for not. And a lot of people will use it like even when they use it on like knockout and skids. That's just not my thing, particularly because Fracas can really extend the range for a lot of bots. So I don't like him on gunners as much because on the gunners he a lot of times they already got the range, and there's some combats like for me you saw that my knockout has fire line on them. Well, fire line's range is longer on a gunner. It's like on that extra long range. So now I got a whole bunch of guys that sit real far back. So team synergy for me is always a big deal. Let's see. Robert C4 was talking about Megatronus on Ramhorn. That actually does work really, really well. And the thing is, Megatronus offensive prime core, it's not one of my favorites, but it is one of my favorites to use on him. And that's another asset. Dude, that's going to be a combo that I want to try to use in a future video because I know that my Ramhorn is like low level right now on my test account. But that is one that I definitely want to use. All right, let's see. All right, there's no one for me to attack right there. Let me see if I can find a lower level base to attack. Yeah, so to your point, Tara, usually you usually have some really, really nice combos, and it's usually stuff that I never even thought about. So it catches me off guard. I was like, man, why didn't I think about that? But this one works okay. I mean, like, Trigger Happy does a lot of damage on his own, so it's kind of like it's kind of one of those things. I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna try to use Slipstream, 5-star, and full tilt. So going back to my conversation about Slipstream, one of the things that I really look at from because we were talking about a little bit in playtest about, like I said, making it stronger, the ability stronger on Slipstream, but I think it's kind of in a good place right now, just because there are bots out there. And now, granted, everybody doesn't have the bots yet, and everybody hasn't used the bots yet. But as we go into phase 2 and phase 3, you know, you got bots like Full Tilt that do massive amounts of damage. Like here, I got a maxed out ability 10. You know, if he hits Slipstream's ability, you're talking about a major, major impact. So I'll run it on this shock tower. Let Slipstream do her thing. And I actually went out of range this time, so I'll use this mortar instead. And so now you get a little bit of element of range to go into this. And the combo becomes really, really cheap. So I was talking to Chris Harmon earlier. You know, one of and he's in the chat too. One of my fellow playtesters and friends. And I was telling him, he was like, well, how are you planning on using Slipstream? Because I said, I know you're really high on Slipstream. And I told him, man, for the most part, I'm not even trying to really get a ranged attack out of her. I'm just trying to get her set up where I can just walk with her. But then you run into stuff like this because it's a stun ability, and you know, Shock Tower's got that stun immunity. So then those kind of things can be problematic. But everything else, you can get AoE damage in that huge area. It's perfect. All right, let's see if I can find a base to do. I'm gonna walk, and it sucks because, like, I realized that started showing stats on, and keep in mind, like, those stats on Crankcase, those aren't gonna be the final stats. Like, I was totally didn't do that on purpose, and I don't even have them maxed out yet, but we'll try to see what his speed boost will look like in just a regular walk team. Now, one thing I do hate, you gotta worry about like you gotta worry about those new ray blocker cores and stuff like that when you're in the middle of your walk. Right now I'm stunned. But it just really helps. Like, dude, when you use this ability, like they take down stuff really, really, really fast. And I'm really feeling it. I like this a lot. But yeah, man, like I don't know how you guys feel about the batch so far, but I say these two bots I really like a lot. Um, Deathsaurus, I gotta figure out what I want to do, what kind of comments I want to make about Deathsaurus. Just because I think a lot of the fear is that, we got the memories of bots that we have of them. We got the memories of these bots being, we were in like we were like in like HQ 15, and he was like one of the most powerful bots around. That's not the case anymore, and I think that's one of those things that we gotta realize. Lord Avix remind me, he says, well, who said Megatron is on Ramhorn many months ago? Yeah, no, I mean, when you're right, you're right. And the thing is, I'm a huge Ramhorn fan. I haven't got the level mines the way that I want because I had other priorities, but I like the concept of the bot, to be honest. All right, cool. So let's see. And I think that's gonna be it for me for tonight, guys. Like I said, as always, thank you all for joining. Should be an exciting live stream next week too, just because the phase 2 will actually be out. I can let you guys know how I've been doing. But yeah, like as the content comes out, let me know how it's going for you guys. I mean, if it's hard, if it's too hard, as always, I take that feedback back to Space Ape, whatever the players are saying as well. But I'm gonna go ahead and log off for the night. I will see you guys next week, and I will see you guys on the battlefield. Freezy is out.